Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Updated Legion Errata. We're going to take a look at the points adjustments and the errated cards that are in the upcoming rules reference. This is now currently available. Was not supposed to go live until Friday, but came out a day early. So we're going to take a look at all of this. And there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. Vader's getting a points reduction also. So a lot of cool stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look at all of this. Let me remind you guys also, we are just a few days away from me announcing the winner, so there is still time to enter to win the $100 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. Let me know what you're thinking of running as a result of this new points reduction. Very cool stuff. All right, so we got an updated rules reference. Now, this is going to be the upcoming rules reference, so it's still got a lot of new stuff in blue. Here, when you go to look at it, the new stuff in blue is really going to apply largely to the stuff that's coming in the Clone Wars with like your Makashi Mastery, your Sorasu Mastery, Wheel Mode, Smoke, all of those new things that we're going to see in the Clone Wars. So a lot of that stuff is going to be Clone Wars specific. But there is some new stuff here, specifically Immune Range 1. So yeah, that's a pretty cool one. Now, I like these PDFs because you can actually search in them. You can just do a Control F and search for Immune. And immune range 1. Let's see. Here we go. Range. There we go. And now I'm going to jump down straight to it. Now we've got immune range 1. So here's our reference. Basically our entry for in the rules reference for immune range 1. A unit that has immune range 1 weapons keyword cannot be targeted by weapons that have a maximum range of 1. Now that is going to be very, very interesting because there's a couple of things that can affect range 1. This means like mines. You know, they're immune to like mines. They're also immune to grenades, right? Or at least most grenades. So that is pretty cool. Or any new type of shotgun. We may start seeing primary weapons that are only range 1 as well at some point. Now you're probably thinking, why is that in here? Well, that's going to be in the errata. So we're going to get, I'm kind of just jumping to the end because the first thing we're going to talk about is errata. There are some hard erratas in this, and we're going all the way down because they talked about some of them. You know, the range 5 is now a thing. There's even a reference for range 5 since you can now just mark range 1 and then measure range 4 from there if you don't have it. We've already got the older erratas for the battle cards that were errated and the command card for coordinated fire. Those are old, but here's our new stuff. So as we look a little closer, we're going to see, you know, the 1.4 FD laser cannon team has range 1 to 5, you know, on the bottom right for their primary weapon. Now, 1 to 5 is a huge range that is going to let you go almost as far as anything could go anyway. You know, especially on certain deployments, you can start shooting right away. There are some deployments, you know, especially like the Long March, where that's not going to be a thing anymore, where you still won't be able to hit them. But also at the same point, snipers are going to have the same thing. Your DLT and your 447 snipers both have a range 1 to 5. Now those are both hard errated, and the difference between a points adjustment and the errata in this case is that errata will be reprinted. So new versions of this card will come out and say 1 to 5, 1 to 5. So this is meant to be across the board, so you can actually even mark down on your cards if you want it to show what's 1 to 5. This is the new rules. Everybody should be playing this way from now on. So I would expect for every card that's errated here for us to see promos of these being done in the not too distant future. So you will hopefully be able to get these without too much difficulty. So that's definitely a thing. So we're going to get errated versions of these. The eWeb is also getting an errata, and that is losing plotting. And plotting was that ability that said you can only do one standard move, right? So now the eWeb can move 2 times, which, you know, it's got a decent sized base, so it can actually get some, you know, mobility at this point, and that's good. Now, you know, it's still got cumbersome. It's still got all the other stuff. It's still got reposition, which, you know, losing plotting reposition is actually going to become pretty nice for it. But, you know, you're not going to be able to go into standby if you move twice anyway. Well, at least under most cases. But very cool. Force Choke is an interesting one. Force Choke is getting the errata. Says choose a non-commander, non-operative enemy trooper. range 1, it suffers 1 wound. I think the key word there is that it's not going to, I think in the past you could have potentially targeted an operative. In theory, I don't really know. I think because when this came out, the operatives weren't really in the game. So, but yes, long-range Comlink is now going to say during the command phase, you can be issued orders by friendly commander or operative units, regardless of range. And the key word there is, like, I think in the older way, in the original reading of long range Comlink, there was the whole concept of, well, for somebody who's forwarding orders, through some other, comms relay or something like that, it could go infinitely. And no, it has to be, just from the command card. They're kind of clarifying that. Funny thing is, long range Comlink is also one of those cards that got a points adjustment, and the errata leaves the old points on there. And we're going to talk about that and why they've done that when it comes to the points. It's a weird thing, and it's because maybe they'll go back at some point. I don't know. Points will probably be changed, every year, is my guess. All right, so the T-47 Airspeeder has a lot of changes. First off, as far as errata, it has both errata and points changes as well. So for the errata, it's going to also be immune to range 1 weapons, like we talked about. That's kind of why I talked about that. If it's immune to melee, it's flying so high, it's also immune to range 1 weapons. This makes me wonder if there's going to be other flying vehicles coming into the game that are also going to be immune to range 1 weapons. In my live stream last night, we talked a lot about transports, something like the LAT flying in, or maybe they'll do bombers like Y-wings and X-wings, like flying over doing bombing runs on the ground or something like that. All of those things I would love to see, but I think space starfighters might be a little bit much. I don't think we really need that. Maybe in a couple of years, if we kind of exhaust different things to put into the game, we could consider that, but I really don't want to see a whole lot of starfighters in this game. I would much rather helicopter-style vehicles show up. The transports, a LAT, or goodness, what are those Imperial helicopters? We saw a lot of those in Star Wars Rebels. I think there's a lot of different vehicles that fit the bill for a hover transport, especially with the new vehicles that are coming out for the Clone Wars factions. We're definitely seeing some new mechanics that allow for a vehicle to have hover and not necessarily have to do the compulsory moves and to kind of treated like a stationary vehicle while it's a flying vehicle. I like a lot of things about that. And immune to range 1 weapons is going to be very useful, because that's going to mean that grenades and mines aren't going to hit helicopters, which makes sense. You wouldn't try to hit a helicopter with a grenade, So we looked at long-range Comlink. Our T7 Ion Snowtrooper is getting its range changed to 3. And the original T7 Ion Snowtrooper, I think was range 1 to 2. Not sure. I don't have the card out in front of me. I thought it was 3 all along. I'll be honest with you. I've not once ever run the T7 Ion Snowtrooper. Anytime I run Snowtroopers, it's with the Flame Trooper. And even though these guys are also getting a points adjustment, I don't see myself changing that. I don't see myself adjusting the way. I thought they were range 3 already. I don't know. Now, Battle Meditation is getting an errata here. It also says, while you're issuing orders using a command card, the key is using a command card. So Entourage, not going to work this way, right? You may issue one of those orders to any friendly unit on the battlefield instead of a unit indicated on the command card. So it has to be the command card that you're using to issue those orders, not Entourage or some other type of ability. Funny thing is, this card is clearly called Battle Meditation, and if we scroll down a little bit, we're going to see the next place is the points adjustments, and they have Battlefield Meditation on there, which there is no card in the game called Battlefield Meditation. I think it's pretty clear, though, they're talking about Battle Meditation and not Battlefield Meditation. So if you do see that and you're kind of, whoa, jumped too far. So if you see that and you're thinking, whoa, what are they talking about? So now here's why the points that are printed on the cards, even the errated cards, are not changing. They changed a lot more. There's only a couple of errata, but there's a lot more points changes for all of the cards that are out there, and they don't want to physically change the point costs because they feel like the points were still balanced somewhat. And if you're just playing casually, you know, they don't want you to feel like you have to go and change your point costs and have to look these things up. So the adjusted point costs are only going to apply to competitive games. So these will apply in tournaments, these will apply in leagues, or these will apply to any game you want them to apply to. What does that mean to me? This means every game is going to use them. If you're following this channel, you probably should be using these new point costs, although you are more than welcome to use the printed point costs if you want. But for 99% of games that are out there, or for 99% of players out there who have access to the internet and are aware of these changes, they'll probably want to apply these changes, because these are pretty much good changes. In almost all cases, it's a points cost reduction, so that's good. That's real good, and I have no problem with that. I think that's a great idea. I like the idea of them doing that. So that much is very fun. And there are some things that got points increases. So Commanding Presence is an upgrade. That's the one that lets you go to range, up to range 4 when you're issuing orders. That one went down to 5 points from 10. That was very expensive. A lot of these are points cost reductions. Comms Jammer is also down to 5 points, and that's one of those. That one's surprising to me because I had a feeling that Comms Jammer was going to become a lot more important, especially with B1 Battle Droid, activation fire lines. I thought we might see more people using Comms Jammer, but at the same time, it was 10 points, so it was really expensive. Long Range Comms is down to 5 points as well. Of course, we just looked at that one. Even though the printed cost on the errated card is still 10, it's now only a 5-point card, you see. So that's kind of what I'm talking about there. So long range comms. Now, battle meditation, not battlefield meditation, is also down 5 points to 5. Force reflex is down from 15 to 10, and that seems reasonable because force reflexes was already a really strong card. Part of this makes me wonder, are they coming out with new force powers that are going to be really strong? And maybe they said, you know what? We can't make these like 50-point upgrades. We want to make them 15 points, but they're way better than other 15-point upgrades. A lot of these changes make me wonder what else is coming, that they decided to balance these and make these so cheap, because maybe there's even cooler force upgrades coming. I don't know. It's exciting to see. So force reflexes, one of those almost auto includes on a lot of your force, on a lot of your Jedi and Sith. That one is now down to 10. Saber Throw is also down to 5 points. Great card. See, I didn't think, and Vader is one of the cards that got reduced in points. I didn't think Vader needed a reduction in points because of some of his cards. Like Force Reflexes and Saber Throw are usually auto includes on Darth Vader. But now you're already gonna save 10 points right off of, because 5 for each of those. Emergency Stims is actually up from 8 to 12, so Emergency Stims has gained value, and I can understand that one because when that one came out, it was only really working on stuff that was out at the time. But since then, we've had a lot more useful like Death Troopers and more valuable, expensive characters that can equip it. So each mini that you save with it has a much greater value. So I think due to the increased versatility and potential benefit of Emergency Stims, a points increase kind of made sense. Targeting Scopes is down to 4 points. Smaller change there, but I like it because there's a lot of times where I have 4 points left over and don't know what to do with it, and I'm like, what do I want to do? So that's cool. Both of the generators are down from 10 points to 7. I'm not a big generator user. I don't usually use these, but then again, I usually don't use the E-Web or the FD turret. So, from a certain point of view, I'm like, well, I probably don't need to use those, but maybe now I can afford it. Duck and Cover, one of the best upgrades, I love Duck and Cover, is down from 8 to 4, so that one got a 4 points reduction. Now we're going to move over, we're going to look at the units. And the units, almost all of these have seen a reduction. 74Z speeder bikes are down to 75. This is one that they told us about already. This is a huge upgrade for speeder bikes. You can, they used to be 90 points. They're way cheaper now, which is awesome. We've got our ATST, which is down to 170. Why are they... No, one thing that's... Oh, this is just for the Empire. I was like, wait, why aren't the air speeders on here? This is just Empire. So the ATST is down 20 points, which is good. It's not a huge, because it's only down a little bit, but that's okay. That's okay. It's still nice where it's at. I feel like it was. I'm sorry, 25 points. It was 195, not 190. So a 25-point reduction is pretty significant. I can see more heavy weapons. I can see more heavy vehicle lists, at least kind of creeping their head up, which is going to be fun. I mean, you're going to be able to fit more stuff on the battlefield now, and that's cool. Darth Vader is down to 190. This one's a big surprise because he was 200 points. So he is down to 190, 10-point reduction for Vader, but it's more than that considering that his two of his staple cards have also gone down. So he's really got effectively a 20-point reduction if you were going to run Vader kind of as a standard. Now the strike teams, the Scout Trooper strike teams, are up 4 points from 16 to 20. That's a small change meant to, couple with the fact that snipers now are max of range 5, which is still a tremendous range. But it does mean they may have to be somewhat at risk of getting shot in order to be able to take shots. But it still gives them, it's going to be interesting. We're going to have to see just how prevalent strike teams are now with this reduction in range. We're going to have to see. So for upgrades, the HH-12 Stormtrooper and the T-7, both of your heavier Stormtrooper or heavy weapons options for Stormtroopers and Snowtroopers, the less commonly used ones, got a major reduction down to 26 points. I still don't anticipate taking either one of them, but we'll see. The Ion Snowtroopers might get some use. Maybe. All right, so for the Rebels, now Chewie. Surprisingly enough, Chewie gets a decrease, and I thought Chewie was fairly well priced, but he goes from 110 down to 95, so a 15-point reduction for Chewbacca. Especially, I guess one of the reasons is that people want to pair him with Han so much. I guess so, but I've also enjoyed trying to pair Chewie with somebody else like Luke or Leia, or Han and Luke, or Han and Leia, or something like that. There's lots of different ways to do it. But yeah, Chewie's going to get that reduction. And maybe part of that is so that you can fit Operative Luke and Chewie and Commander Han and Commander Leia all into the same build, and then still maybe make it work. Like that might be part of it. Now, Jyn Erso, I'm surprised at this one. Jyn got a reduction down from 130 to 110, so a 20-point reduction for Jyn. That's a big deal. I'm actually really surprised at that. That's a lot of points. Plus, duck and cover gets cheaper, so fielding Jyn is really going to be cheaper now. That's cool. I at least in my games I see Jyn fielded a lot, so I didn't really think her points were much of a problem. But that's one of the interesting things is maybe in different player bases, people have said that Jyn might have been unplayable just because of her cost. We shall see. But Jyn has been a pain in my butt because she's so hard to kill. Maybe it's just the way, like I play against Sean. Sean runs Jyn all the time and seems to always roll just enough white dice with ink on them to survive, especially with duck and cover. So yeah, Jyn is hardly ever died in my games. And now that Danger Sense can be used in melee also, I feel like Jyn has got a lot of buffs lately. The Rebel Commando Strike Team, same thing with the Imperial Strike Team. They got that points increase up to 4 more points higher from 16 to 20, and also their snipers, same exact thing, range 5. The T-47, so in addition to that errata of also being immune to mines and grenades, they also went down to 140 points. This is huge. This is the biggest points reduction from 175 down to 140. That's a 35-point reduction. That's huge. This means if you run 2 T-47s, which I have done before, you're going to have an extra 70 points. And not only that, not only we have an extra 70 points, but both of their hard points have been gone down tremendously. So almost all the hard points for the rebels went down, which is crazy. Which is really, really crazy. Wow. So all right, so let's look at upgrades. So first off, let's talk Pathfinders, because goodness, I think it's pretty much you're going to always take a Pathfinder attachment now, which is interesting because again, I play against Sean, who tends to run Pathfinders all the time, and now you're never going to take them without their short or long range config because it's free, which I was like, wow, that's really strange. Like I almost don't know why. I don't know. That is pretty surprising that they're always going to have that now. So that's a thing. So Pathfinders are going to be way more deadly now because they're getting basically a 6-point reduction or a free upgrade. So that's something. Your ATRT, all 3 guns are down 20 points, or down to 20 points, which is hey, it is what it is. The laser cannon was 35. Your rotary blaster was only 30, and your flamethrower was 25. So everything got a points reduction, but your flamethrower kind of got the weakest reduction. Although, gosh, it's still 2 dice per mini, so if you can manage it, it's great. I feel like the flamethrowers on that one still, I think I probably would end up taking, the rotary blaster almost all the time because that one got a 10-point reduction, and it's still against, a trooper unit still rolling 5 black dice, and it's kind of a toss-up. But usually by the time you get your ATRT that close, usually a unit has already lost a couple of minis, so it's kind of a, you might end up rolling less dice with the flamethrower than if you had the rotary blaster, especially against a single commander or something like that. So I still think the rotary blaster is the best weapon for the ATRT, but they each have their own purpose. So the ground buzzer went down to 20 points for the T-47, which is awesome for the T-47. I'm really excited about it. I've always liked the T-47. The airspeeder has been one of my favorites, and this is a 10-point reduction for it. Power Harpoon is down to only 3 points. The Power Harpoon is garbage. It's only that 1 red die, and I don't like it. I don't like it. First off, it's 1 red die, and you don't have surge to hit. So you have 1 red die, and you have a couple of chances of missing. And especially if you're shooting against another repulsor vehicle, which really would be the sweetest thing to do. If you could try to hit another snowspeeder, you have to roll a crit. Because otherwise you're going to just lose your hit anyway, because they're going to have cover 1. And so many of the vehicles that you're going to want to get to are going to have that. It's just the 1 die, and then that's really the most fun that you could have with a Power Harpoon is shooting something that's going to have to do a compulsory move and then causing it to crash, which is great. But unless there's something that, like, if you could get surge to crit or a critical 1 at least. So I mean, maybe a pilot could fix that. If they give you a cheap pilot that gave you critical 1, I could see running the Power Harpoon. That would be an option at least, because then you'd have at least a 2 out of 8 chance of getting that crit and stopping the cover 1 from that would be fun. That'd be really fun. But I don't see people running the Power Harpoon even at 3 points when the ground buzzer is so much better for only 10. So, but still, those are good changes combined with, because really to run this snowspeeder you needed the ground buzzer, and it was really hard. So now you got a 35-point reduction plus a 10-point reduction on the ground buzzer. So that's a 45-point. If you're running double snowspeeders, that's a 90-point reduction. So that's enough for a lot. That's enough for 2 more rebel troopers. So that's huge. That's huge. All right. Now our CMO 93. For our Rebel veterans, that one is the most recent one. We've talked about that one already. That one's down to 26. And then both of our unpopular heavy units for our fleet and Rebel troopers are down to 24 and 25, respectively. Again, still don't really think I'm going to ever go with them. I am too much of a fan of Z6 for the rebel troopers, and your shotgun guy for your fleet troopers is pretty good. Maybe for the fleet troopers, maybe, but for rebel troopers, I still don't think I'll ever take that ion trooper. It will depend though, because if we do get more vehicles that come out, the ion keyword is going to be fine versus droids, because it's nice to stun droids a little bit. Maybe not as much against the B1 droids, but maybe it'd be a bigger deal against super battle droids. If you can just get that ion on them to stop them from stop them from being able to move or something like that. But maybe against the tanks and stuff like that, if you really want to deny somebody like 200 points of their list. It does stink when somebody hits you with an ion on your ATST and now you can't aim and shoot or something like that, and you have to just choose one. It's kind of a bummer. So yeah, that's all of our points cost reductions and all of our errata. So I will put a link to this, but you can get this on fantasyflightgames.com at the for the where they have all the rules reference. You'll want to pick on the upcoming rules reference as opposed to the current rules reference, because that's what now these rules are supposed to go into play on the 12th of September. So if you have a tournament this weekend, you're still going to use the original printed costs and the non-errated versions of stuff. But then after the 12th, all of this goes into effect. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.